Welcome to Securing Your Brand. Join us as we explore trademarks, copyrights, and intellectual property to ensure the protection of your creative assets.
Hello and welcome to Securing Your Brand with attorneys Holly McFall and Melissa Jada from SecureMark Legal, your go-to source for the latest insights into intellectual property and legal trends. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're going to talk about an exciting new service that SecureMark is launching. It's a trademark monitoring service. Holly, Melissa, welcome back. I'm excited to talk about this new venture.
It's great to be back here with you today.
Well, let's start here. What is trademark monitoring? What does it involve? Why is it essential for businesses to actively monitor their trademarks?
Well, we currently offer to all of our trademark clients, those are that trademark clients that we have filed the application for, whether it's locally here in the United States with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, or it's overseas, whatever registering agent that they filed with, we monitor those marks for them. It's included as part of our registration. You get 6 months worth of monitoring, and then you can purchase it for every year for thereafter as we go through it. And we're monitoring that registering agent. We're monitoring the USPTO for new applications, or if an office action gets cited and the examiner cites your mark against someone else's mark, we're going to go ahead and watch it for that too. We send out a monthly email unless we feel like something comes up and we're like, oh, wait, this requires more immediate attention. So that way you're watching your brand, you're making sure that someone else isn't using your mark, using your registration in a way that they're not supposed to, that a new brand hasn't started and filed for a registration of a trademark, and it's infringing on your brand or hurting your reputation. That's basically what a trademark watch service is.
Yeah, and it's important, because the examining attorneys at the USPTO's office, in theory should catch these conflicts as they come through, but they're human like the rest of us and they can miss things. And also they may just have a different opinion about whether a mark that they see is conflicting or not. They may decide that it's not, but based on your knowledge of your own business and the things that you do in your business and your industry, you may have a completely different opinion with the information that you have. And you can relay that to us, and then we can advocate on your behalf, even if the examining attorney doesn't step in to bring that to attention.
So can you guys talk about how you're expanding your monitoring service? What is the new product, the new service that you're launching?
So originally we just offered it to our clients. And then if people called us and they had an infringement issue, or some people had other, trademark questions, we didn't offer it outside of our marks, the marks and registrations that we had applied for our clients. So we are now expanding it to anyone that has a trademark application. And it doesn't actually have to be your trademark application. So you want to monitor your competitor's mark, you want to know what your competitor is doing, and you want to run a search on them or something along those kind of monitoring, we can do that also. So sometimes clients want to know what their competitor is up to and, what their marks are doing or who's filing brands according to theirs. Or within that same class, they want to know what's going on for their class of service and goods and who's filing trademarks. We can do that kind of monitoring too. So instead of just keeping it in-house, we're now offering it to the public.
Was there anything in particular that inspired this shift to expanding it beyond just your current clients?
Really the request that it was needed, that we have, the service is needed for other clients. The service is needed for people that already have brands. Maybe they didn't have a monitoring system in place before. They noticed that someone was infringing on their brand or there was a new trademark, either through a Google search or they got, God forbid, a client called up and said, hey, I gave me a bad product and it wasn't yours, it was someone else's. You're going to want to, know that your brand is being watched. So we offered it out to the public.
That's really cool. That's great. That sounds like a great service. What kind of things, what are the challenges, I guess I should say, that some of these businesses face with their trademark protection that monitoring can help prevent?
So for new marks, to help prevent the new mark from being registered and to have them build their brand. So it's really awareness right away. So before the examiner can even cite it in an office action, they can find out that that brand registered, they filed an application, not registered, they filed an application. They can find out that that brand filed an application. And by looking at that application, before that brand can even build, before that brand can get bigger or cause any damage to yours, we can send out the cease and desist letter, contact them and say, hey, wait, this brand exists. Maybe you didn't know, you're just building your brand. It's time for the conflicting mark to go ahead and rebrand and not infringe on your trademark rights. So this allows an existing company from the very beginning of the new company say, wait, stop. I own this space. This is my brand. You're confusingly similar to my brand. I don't want you infringing on my trademark. I don't want you confusing my customers so that they buy from you or use your service. And it's not as good as mine. So we're going to have you stop now before you even get started.
Yeah, and that makes it a lot easier to work with them, for them to be more receptive to our communication if they haven't invested a ton of time and money in the brand. A lot of times they tend to be a little less defensive, maybe even sometimes saying, "Oh, thank you for letting me know."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They probably don't want to have a common mark, that's going to be confused either. Everyone wants to be, an individual and, have the market to themselves, that you don't want to jump into a market where you're already in direct conflict with someone.
Yeah. And then you spend all that time and that money and effort marketing or coming up with your plan and all that. Yeah. I would rather have someone say, hey, you can't use that, and be like, oh, sweet. Thanks. Appreciate the heads up. So when businesses don't do monitoring services, do you find that they just sort of like don't even think to look, or do some of them check every once in a while to see if anybody out there is trying to do anything?
I think usually they just don't even look, it doesn't even occur to them until something bad happens,
right?
Until they get a scary cease and desist letter or just a lawsuit. Then, that wakes them up, and then they certainly come running to us then. Right. But yeah, it's kind of not a top of mind thing for a lot of companies until something happens.
It's part of that delegation that we do. It's part of that taking it off of your plate so that you don't have to worry about, oh, is someone else stealing my brand? Is someone using my trademark? Is someone, selling under my name? So that way, take that off your plate. We send you an email once a month if nothing comes up. If something comes up immediately, we'll send you an email. But once a month email is what you're getting from us. You're also getting one cease and desist letter as part of our monitoring service. So if a confusingly similar mark application is filed, or you're cited in office action, we're going to inform you. We're going to let you know through the email, and we'll help you what are our next steps. And part of our monitoring service comes one cease and desist letter every year. So in case you do come across that brand that says, I think it's confusingly similar, I don't want you to keep building, I don't want you to hurt my brand, we can send a letter now. And like Holly said, we can get them to start rebranding right away before anything happens. And those that don't monitor are coming to me late and saying, I've gotten bad Google reviews, or I've got a problem, or one client came, they got sued and it wasn't even their brand. So you definitely want to make sure that you're watching your brand, that no one else is using it. Part of having it is policing it and making sure that you have that trademark and it's police that trademark so no one else infringes on it.
Yeah, I've had trademarks and I feel like I just assume like, hey, it's mine now. So I got, whoever's going to be going and looking out for something similar will see that I have it and they won't do that. But apparently that is naive of me to think that.
People think that, every trademark, every, business owner, every lawyer is going to do it the proper way and say, oh, this is, we ran a search and this one's confusingly similar. It doesn't happen that way. They sometimes file, or they file on their own without doing a search, or they use one of the cheaper online filing sites, and they're not looking out for their brand. So they're not aware that that brand exists, or maybe they are, and they're hoping that you're going to ignore the fact and not know that they went ahead and infringed on your trademark.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe they did see it and they're just like, yeah, maybe they don't have a monitoring service, and we'll just get away with this. No big deal. Yeah.
With AI changing everything, in the market out there, it is one of those considerations.
Are you guys, so how does your service, do you have any sort of bells and whistles you want to talk about? Is there anything special that you guys do that might be different than what other monitoring services do?
Not really different from what other monitoring services do. There's other monitoring services out there. We are flat rate. So if you have a question, you come across something during that time period, call us. It's one of the things Holly and I are really proud of, the fact that we want our clients to call us, tell us what their business is doing, tell us if they've come across something, talk to us about it. So something we're very proud of, that we're a flat rate service. Don't be afraid to send me an email and say, hey, what's your thoughts? I came across this, or hey, did you see this? Or I got an idea. So we offer one cease and desist letter. And if that mark comes up in that time, we'll go ahead and send out that cease and desist letter. No additional charge to you on that one. And, after we've obviously discussed it with you, made sure, we think it's confusingly similar. Also, goods, services, they're within the same class or the same realm of classes, and the name is similar enough that we're worried about it.
You mentioned before that sometimes, a lot of times people will come to you after there's been a trademark infringement because they didn't have monitoring, because they weren't paying attention and all that. How often is it, does it ever happen where they they find that they're kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better term, kind of screwed a little bit at that point? Or are you usually able to make it right even if they don't have the monitoring initially?
That's very fact specific, kind of the
Okay.
usual lawyer answer of it depends.
It depends.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times we have to do a good amount of research, in order to even figure out what our opinion is, because it can be very fact intensive, specifically what, the mark is doing in the marketplace, what services and goods they provide and things like that.
One of the things is a big consideration in that, and being, kind of too late, is that someone kind of discovered something online. Maybe they haven't even filed an application yet, and they're coming to us 7, 8 months, 2, 3, 4 years down the road. And this person's now built this brand, and maybe they have an argument to say, wait a minute, we've already coexisted for this long. Maybe your trademark isn't as strong as you wanted, to come back and say it's generic and file a cancellation because they've been doing it for so long in that service.
That's interesting.
So with the monitoring, you're at least catching those that are filing for trademark applications sooner. And if you do come across something, we want you to call and talk to us about it, because waiting too long could make it a bigger problem. A, it's more expensive for the company to rebrand. And B, what if they're going to argue that your mark should actually be canceled because you haven't been policing your brand? We've existed together so long, and you're not watching out for the market to make sure there's not something in that service with that similar name. And there's 2 or 3 or 4 other trademarks at this point because you're not monitoring your brand.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It could be like I won't call it statute of limitations, but it almost just like, hey, this has been around for a minute now, and you kind of didn't notice, and we've been fine. We're doing great together. So what's the problem? And do you think in that scenario, does a lot of time, does that other company that's saying, hey, we've been doing this for a while, you think they'd win that a lot of times?
Comes down to litigation. And
It
again,
depends.
Yes, our favorite legal answer. It depends. But then you might end up in litigation, where before we could have done it with the letter and settlement. Now you're in litigation. Now it's expensive. The other company, it's expensive for them too. They got to destroy merchandise, packaging, things along those lines, go through the rebrand, their website domain, their social media handles, all of that momentum, that business reputation that you have built up gets destroyed when you have to go through a full rebrand. And that's a costly process. Maybe that company isn't going to drag you through litigation, but maybe they're going to want something so that they have offset their costs to rebrand. And that's not an unusual concept for someone that's been around for a long time to come back and ask, I want dollars to be able to rebrand. Yeah, I'm infringing on your trademark. Yeah, I'm the bad actor, but now I want money from you to go through the rebrand cost, because otherwise it's going to cost you more in litigation.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that was a thing.
That's the problem. So monitoring, policing your brand is really important. It really comes down to, you need to make sure that you own it, and that you have it. Yeah, okay, I got my trademark. Great. Now no one else can get, infringe on me. But having that trademark watch service allows you to say, okay, wait, let's stop. Let's take a look at what else everyone else is doing in this marketplace. And we're doing that for you. It's not something as a business owner that's back on your plate. That's part of what we do for you, part of the services that we provide. Yeah,
this sounds like a must have, to be honest with you. I've never really known much about trademark monitoring services, but it sounds like something that it's just another one of those things you do to prevent problems down the road.
Insurance.
Great way to put it.
Exactly what it goes back to. Doing your trademark search, making sure that you can own that brand, you can clear that mark, going through your registration process, getting your trademark registration, and then monitoring that brand, policing it, monitoring it to make sure that you have the insurance in place, that no one else can take that from you.
So how can people get signed up with the service? What's the best way to get started?
You can call our office. Our phone number is 239-323-0702, or our website is www.securemarklegal.com. You'll see a button there to schedule a consultation if you'd like to discuss it further. Otherwise, you can just send us a message and we'll get you signed up.
Awesome. Seems simple enough to me. Well, thank you for joining us on Securing Your Brand with attorneys Holly McFall and Melissa Jetta from SecureMark Legal. To connect with the team, once again, that website is securemarklegal.com. And please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Leave us a review. As always, Melissa, Holly, it's great to see you guys. Thanks so much for being here.
It's great to be here. Look forward to the next episode.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.